Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.
Indigenous women all around the world are subjected to marginalization and inequality. As we commemorate International Women's Day, we celebrate the work of Lukretia Booysen, an Indigenous changemaker who's the curator of the Koena Art Institute. Booysen tells us about the Institute's collaboration with the Iziko Art Museum.
My name is Lukretia Booysen. I am from Nama and Griekwa descent, and I work at the Koena Art Institute. Currently in the art scene in South Africa, for Indigenous artists, there is still a long way to go in terms of inclusion. It is a uphill struggle to get our work recognized as an art form and included in the broader artistic landscape. We have the Koena Art Institute, in conjunction with the Iziko Museums, have come together to put an exhibition together called The Evolution of Indigenous Arts. And this exhibition is basically to talk about how our ancestors were of the oldest known artists in the world. And this is prevalent through rock art across the globe. Yet not much has been published on the evolution of Indigenous arts and what Indigenous artists are doing today and how they relate to, the art as Indigenous beings. So this exhibition will basically be in the South African Museum where the Rock Art Institute is. And it's going to be the marriage of our ancestors' art and stories and traditions with the art and works of the current Indigenous descendant. So this is something that is extremely exciting and extremely meaningful to us, to have an organization like Iziko Museums, which is one of the most established arts structures in our country, to be able to have our work being exhibited there. There's a 6-month exhibition, and it will be a part of the educational program. And this specifically is very exciting for us because a lot of young children and young people will be able to see that our art forms has not died out, our people have not died, and we still practice and we still celebrate who we are as a people. And as artists, because I personally believe that, we are a nation of artists. Our Indigenous South African Griekwa people are known for music. They're known for moon celebrations. They are known for dance. They are known for their art, and storytelling. So it is such a pleasure to be able to bring something like this to young minds and young children, because historically in South Africa we have been classified as colored, and because of that a lot of our people have had some form of cultural erasure and disconnect from their ancestry and their history. So to have a child of Indigenous descent see work that represents them, it's something that is really mind shifting, and it's something that is really awakening, and it is something that not only speaks to cultural preservation, but it also speaks to, how do we best and foster future generations who are Indigenous beings, who also are artists, and who also will then know that they have the right to celebrate that innate and natural talent that comes through them as Indigenous artists, and those stories that they'll be able to tell. The Koena Art Institute is an organization that celebrates Indigenous heritage through arts, and we are an Indigenous-owned, led and managed organization that tells stories by Indigenous artists through their Indigenous lens and experience, but also informed by Indigenous knowledge systems. Iziko Museums is an organization that has stood the test of time, and it is also a state entity which represents arts, history, natural history, archaeology, and they have played such a big role in preserving history. So being able to work with this organization as a startup organization is really affirming, and it is really a groundbreaking and historic event for us as an Indigenous organization, because we never thought that it would get to this point. So being able to work with Iziko and, learning and understanding, how the environment functions has been such an amazing experience, and their team, their staff, everybody has just made us feel so at home. So shout out to Iziko Museum South Africa. The objective of the exhibition is basically continuation. It is preservation. It is futurism. It is participation. It is inclusion and creating space for Indigenous stories that is being told by Indigenous peoples. When you compare Indigenous art, which is, obviously derived from rock arts, and the modern Indigenous art forms, there are so many similarities because it all is informed by the ancient. It is informed by our ancestors' way of living and how we translate that in the contemporary context. And it also speaks to the way that we live and the way that we understand and the way that we express our work as artists, as musicians, as poets, as storytellers, as theatre makers, as Indigenous beings overall. So the comparison that one can make, you can see how this evolution is taking place, and it is a beautiful experience, and it's a beautiful thing, because what I've always thought was our ancestors are our ancestors, but what we do today, it will determine what 100 years will be seen as ancestor work. So in essence, we are the ancestors of tomorrow. And being able to do this exhibition in the way that we are doing it is a positioning, and it is almost like creating that historic landmark and sense of pride that generations from today, youth and people and, the world will be able to see how our stories evolved with time through art. It is with great honor and privilege that we celebrate Indigenous voices who with great honesty and artistic integrity have embarked on advancing the preservation of Indigenous heritage. The work is sometimes challenging, but it's so affirming to our community that speaks from the periphery, and we speak with pride. So now we are joining so many that have come before us through this exhibition to lead the charge for self-fulfillment through our Indigenous lens. The exhibition explores art by contemporary Indigenous descendants and shares how their stories and art and ideas that is intrinsic to ancestry have continued through time. Creating this platform for sharing Indigenous stories and art has been at the forefront of the Koena Art Institute. So it's a celebration of our history, which is merging with current realities and experiences by our artists, communities and South Africans. So this exhibition basically shows that Indigenous art is not stagnant, just like culture is not stagnant. It will continue to change. It is dynamic and it is complex and it's fluid and it's not static. So it changes every single day, all the time, with subtle and tangible ways. The featured artists for the evolution of Indigenous art is Andri Sterks, who is from Riebeek Valley, Riebeek Valley, Anthony Rhodes from the Eastern Cape, Colin the Bushman from Rooster, Western Cape, Marley Liebenberg from the Eastern Cape, Tsitsikamma, Garth Erasmus from the Western Cape, Pierre Kluter from the Northern Cape, Steinkopf, Stanley Grootboom from Knysna, Tsitsikamma, Mambakweza Mutasa from Zimbabwe, Ulrich Roberts, also from the Northern Cape, Namakwaland, and Hendria Svalbard from the Kalahari. The exhibition will be held in the Rock Art Institute at the South African Museums, and it will be open from the 1st of April to the 31st of August. So it will be during operating hours, obviously given subject to our situation in South Africa, which is called load shedding. So when there is load shedding, unfortunately viewers will not be able to come, but it is open to the public as well as the education programs that will be a part of having people experience and children experience the exhibition.
For more on the rights of Indigenous peoples, visit cs.org and follow Cultural Survival on Facebook and Twitter.
Indigenous Rights Radio, because knowledge is power.